Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to episode 27 of In the Red Corner. The great state of Victoria is back in lockdown until midnight tonight, so we're back on Zoom to chat about the goings on the UFC and the current state of affairs at Anfield and Old Trafford. If that tickles your fancy, you're in the right place. Joining me, as always, to have a little chinwag about everything that's going on is the captain, Mr. Grant Winstanley. How are we, sir?
I'm great, sir. We're far away this week, but, you know, it's still going to be the same content and the same rubbish we speak about every single week, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
it'll take more than miles to stop this chatting and shit.
Yeah. So let's talk about rubbish. And, you know, we always start with an opening question. This week is my honour. How good is VAR? How good? How good? You know?
That was a nice segue.
Yeah. You know, obviously, I want to get your thoughts on VAR. I know there was a couple of incidents for your men this weekend, just gone. Are we going to have VAR next season? What's happening here with VAR, and what's happening to this great game of football that we, you know, so fell in love with?
Yeah, I know. It's one of those love-hate things. When you get decisions going your way, you can almost be like, oh yeah. And then when decisions go against you, which unfortunately for Liverpool, we've been diddled by quite a few over the last couple of weeks, it just becomes more prominent in your mindset, and you find that you're talking about it way too much after the game. We mentioned this before, when the problem with VAR is that we're talking about it way too much. It shouldn't be a factor. It should just work like the Hawkeye thing does in tennis. It's just, it is or it isn't. I think my main gripe with it as well, and it's often overlooked, is that unlike the Hawkeye type thing, which is like a technological yes or no answer, VAR is just another person. It's just another human being watching a video,
still making a decision.
And they have to make exactly the same way that a referee on the field would, which it would be fine if you thought that we're consistently getting that decision correct. But there's so many examples. So, and I can list only Liverpool's, and there's probably a million, other teams that have come up, who've fallen short on these and have been diddled by them a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, this weekend, I'd say potentially two of Leicester's 3 goals, you could have argued that should have been pulled back. The first one, I thought was offside. I've looked at it quite a few times and can't see in what world he's not offside if you're going off this new VAR rule. And I can't remember if it was the second or the third one where Mane's basically thrown to the ground. Now, that's maybe not so much a VAR issue, but it's definitely a referee issue that he's either missed it or completely overlooked it. And I think, the problem is that it's just not a black and white answer. It's another human's interpretation of the same rule that the referee
subjective
on the pitch is looking at. So, for me, it's that you either have to clarify this rule or you get rid of it altogether, because I just don't think there's any point in it. I think I'd much rather would get wrong decisions every so often and right decisions, and sometimes you get diddled, sometimes you don't, and we can all just have a go at the ref and then we forget about it. It's just part of the game. Whereas I think with VAR, because we can see so blatantly, and they're replaying it for us all to see. They're explaining how the rules interpreted, and a lot of us don't agree with it or don't understand it. So even more so, you're just more frustrated with it.
For me, I've always been a believer, and I know this could be a big club mentality, but I've always been a believer of, things balance out over the end of the season. I've always been a believer of that, about things balance out. And, if you're asking me, do you take the chance on things balancing out and kind of removing VAR, but you've got the emotion back into the game and the celebrations and the emotion of not scoring a goal and then going, can we celebrate? Is there a foul in the build-up? Is it offside? Bring it back to oh my God, we've just scored last minute and nothing else matters in the world right now. Nothing else matters. That's what I want back. But I also don't want clear things getting missed. But I'm willing to take the risk to get the love back, if you know what I mean.
I'm not sure is it a lot to do with the quality of, is that the quality of the video and the quality of the technology we're using? Like, it's not as high tech as it as like a Hawkeye would be. Like, it can't tell. We're drawing lines on it, and again, the referee is just watching the replay that the broadcast is playing. So there's not,
Exactly.
as I've seen this week, there's not as many frame rates as you might have in either tennis or something like that. So you just can't break it
Cricket
down
or
to a definitive point. It's
Yeah.
very, in terms of the technology, it's quite wishy-washy. And that's why you're drawing lines and you're like, oh, is that his elbow? Is it his knee?
It's someone drawing lines like you would when you was at school on paints. So you're getting someone doing that in a sense, and making these lines. But also, you're right what you say. It's the camera angles. You're only as good as a camera angle. How many times have we seen this season things slowed down and it goes, oh my God, it's a red. And when you see it live, you go, really? Right. So slowing down, which they said from day one they would never slow things down, by the way, which went out the window. But for me, I go back to, and you can tell us about the game, but the Leicester goal on the free kick is, again, you look at it and you're like, I think they've got the lines wrong because of like Firmino's shadow or his foot. But for me, is there a camera not on the other side of the pitch? Because then you would see where his actual knee and foot and surely that's you'd see kind of what Firmino's, because you can't see from that angle kind of his foot in a way. So it's like, well, show us the other angle.
You're just using the broadcast camera, so they just see in what we see on the TV. They get exactly the same footage, which is, again, it's just not, it's not clear cut enough. It's one angle of it.
Yeah, exactly.
To be completely sure if you're gonna do this, like you say, you need multiple camera angles where you can find a definitive answer, yes or no. And that's a frustration with it. To answer your question, like I think we will have it. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Hopefully they just improve on it. I don't see us getting rid of it. I think they probably invested too much time and money into it.
Yeah.
And I think there's other sports are doing it and utilizing it in correctly. Yes, it's a different sport. There's lots of different nuances in the game, but I think it just needs to be. There's a lot of work to do on it if I'm gonna stop talking about it. Basically, I think that's how I feel about it. What do you think?
And that's what we need. Yeah, and that's what. Yeah. So I completely agree. Technology has to get better. We have to stick with it, but there has to be improvements. And unfortunately, I just want the old football back, because we've gone from arguing, me and you about a decision that wasn't whatever, and you thought, oh well, VAR comes in and that stops the chat in the pub. No, it doesn't. Right? No, it doesn't. You're still talking about VAR, and so it doesn't get rid of that, alleviate that problem. So and we saw it last season. Aston Villa staying up because VAR wasn't turned on and all this stuff. So they're the problems that you do get when. It's like we don't even they've got the technology and then they don't even turn the thing on or whatever excuse was made. So they've just got to manage it better for me. So how was the Liverpool game anyway? So, what was your thoughts? Obviously, no doubt disheartening and a bit annoyed.
Yeah, it's been a mad week actually as a Liverpool fan. The Leicester game was really disappointing and disheartening for the simple fact that we played pretty well. Not to our best, but pretty well enough to win the game for 75 minutes, and then our heads fell off a little bit. You score the free kick, the first one. The players don't know whether it's offside or not, but that goes in. It is what it is.
Yeah,
and I think you see those decisions going against you, and I think our heads just fell off. By the time that third goal went in, we'd fallen to bits, and confidence was fairly low. I think legs went as well. There's fatigue in that team massively, which was a big problem. The likes of Curtis Jones, he got taken off, but he really slowed down. Obviously, we built a plan in that game around Milner playing, and he goes off fairly early on. Thiago came on, and he was on the bench because he wasn't really match fit. He shouldn't have been playing. So there's a lot of things there. And it's just disappointing because we did play quite well for 75 minutes, and to fall to a defeat like that, 3-1 it feels unfair, doesn't it? It feels like a heavy defeat when the performance itself probably didn't warrant it. But it is what it is. Leicester took the chances, and then you got everything that happened kind of after the game. Over the weekend, I'm sure you saw them. Heaps of rumours, that he Klopp out. They're scrapping in the changing rooms. Robbo and Alisson having scrapping in the changes. So you get all this kind of, and it's a lot of rubbish. I'm sure it is, but when I first heard it, and I think the other one was that they'd had like a players only meeting, which was kind of led, I think, by Henderson and Mo Salah. And when I heard that, aside from all the scrapping and the other rumours, I thought that's great. That's exactly what I want them to do. I want to know that they care enough. I want to know that they are taking responsibility for it, and and pulling the socks up and knowing that they've got to address it as a players group, which I think they did. And then what the other, we got to pre the Leipzig game earlier this week. I forget what day it was, maybe Monday or Tuesday. Klopp had his press conference and came out and was, played down a lot of those rumors about him as well, and about his state of mind and what he needed, and if he needed help, if he needed a break. And he was just kind of like, nah, I'm good. Like we're in a bad bit of form, but we play out of this form together as a unit. There's a lot of circumstances that go into where we are this season. And the number one of those is we're decimated by injuries. Like half of our, not half, that's a bit of an exaggeration. A good chunk of our first 11 are injured and have been throughout the season, which has caused massive problems just to the quality of the 11 we can put out, the system we can play, people playing out of position. So that's the reason, the number one reason why things have gone tits up over the last couple of weeks. I don't think it's anything to do with infighting or anything like that. I think it's a culmination of injuries, fatigue, and not being on form. We do have these dips in form. We've gone gung ho for 3 seasons now, and find ourselves where we are.
Don't forget your goalkeeper.
And again, I don't know what that is, and that is maybe it's a bit of it's everyone's due a hiccup. And it could knock your confidence. Everyone's had them. I have absolute faith that I know that he's one of the best top 2, top 3 goalkeepers in the world, if not the best. And he's going to have these when the team around you, or the team in front of you, in his case, is struggling and there's pressure on you. You're going to have these moments where your head falls off a little bit. He's looking ahead this morning, a lot better. His distribution still is not 100%, I don't think, but he's the least of my worries. I know that he's made a few boo-boos, but to be honest with you, he's the least of my worries. I think his class will shine through, and I think it's all part of the of integrating a new centre back in. Kabak's come in now. He's 20 years old. Really good young prospect. But to ask him to come in to play centre half, to replace the likes of Van Dijk and Gomez in a team that's struggling defensively, it's a big
away at Leicester.
Away at Leicester, a good side. Jamie Vardy running at you. He causes the best centre half problems. So to throw him in with that, it's a big ask. And they with the games coming thick and fast the way they have over the last couple of weeks, they won't have had much time on the training pitch to figure out, how it works. They're not used to playing with each other, and it's a mishap. These happens, and I think they just got to pull the socks up and go again. And and you look at this morning's performance. I was really impressed, despite what you thought was the fatigue running through the squad. We went the same again. I think it was exactly the same 11. And it was a really high intense game. That first half hour was real intense football. They brought it to us. We stepped up and took it to them as well. And I think the difference in this game, to the previous couple, is we took those chances when we had them. We got a bit of luck on our side. We've fallen to a bit of a bad luck with VAR decisions against Leicester over the last couple of weeks. We had some good luck in this one. We took our chances, and we've come away there with a really good. I guess it's away. We are away in Europe, even though we're not playing at Leipzig's home. 2-0 away in Europe, first leg of our Champions League game, and we've got a 2-0 win. We look ahead now, and before we play again, we might well have the likes of Fabinho, Jota, all coming back. Somebody else, who else is missing? Naby Keita. Naby Keita's in full training now as well. So we've got these recruits coming back in now that, and things start to look up. But I think looking at this morning as well, just one last, I think it's worth giving a bit of credence to some of the lads that have stepped up and played a lot more than they probably would have and should have this season. Curtis Jones being the prime example of that, played really well today. We going back a season or so, and even the start of this season, he was in the squad and you thought he might play some cup games, etc. And he's had to play way more. He's had to step up, really up his game, you know, beyond his years, and he's done incredibly well. And I think it's worth giving a shout out to him, really.
Yeah. I like Johns. He's I'm a fan, and as I say, I feel a bit in the last couple of weeks that I've actually, you know, he's been hooked off the last couple of times, and you've been in kind of leading positions, and not to be critical at Klopp, but it seems as though the subs that he's made have not affected the game, and you've actually gone the other way from, you know.
There's definitely a perception of that. I think a lot of it's to do with fatigue, like the Curtis Jones one against Leicester. It did seem a bit mad at the time, but I think if you reflect on it and a lot of stuff I've read and heard afterwards, I think his legs were starting to fall off in that game, you know, and he wouldn't have been able to keep up. Anyway, you've got to get some fresh legs on. Yeah, it might be detrimental to the system that we're playing, but at the minute, again, he's managing a team that's on a shoestring, really.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And that's all for the football this week. So let's move on to UFC. Yeah.
Whoa, hang on. Well, first of all, I will say that, you know, we look ahead now. Liverpool have got the derby on Saturday, so I'm hoping we can. I imagine it'll be pretty much a go again scenario. We haven't got much rotation in us, really, so I think we go again, same team. You know, Everton, they play tomorrow or tonight, tomorrow morning, whatever time zone you're on. Tough game. I think they're at home to City. They could be equal on points to us if they manage to beat City, but, you know, highly unlikely. Everton are due, you know, they're due a slip up as well. You know, they fell short against Fulham at the weekend, which was a bit of a shock.
At home as well.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I would the derby's important for the Liverpool players, especially for, you know, the scousers in the team, that your Curtis Joneses, the people who've been around for a long time, your Jordan Hendersons, they know how important this derby is and the record we have at Goodison. And I think they're really going to want to bounce back and win this game and just start to put some wins together. Just got to see some consistency for us now in the league. That's kind of what I want to see as we run in this kind of final run in. Just consistently, let's not lose too many games. Let's try not to lose any games. Let's just put some performances together. Let's get the lads back in who are returning to fitness and kick on, really.
Yeah.
And now on to you. I'm going to stop talking. And you can tell me all about your 1-1 draw with West Brom. Is that a tear?
Yeah, it was a tear. Yeah, what can I say? Rubbish. Just there's a couple of issues. You know, I could say a couple of excuses and different things, but it just wasn't good enough at the end of the day. Like, I know United fans, and I was, to be fair, when I saw it, I was kicking off because first, you know, I mean, West Brom, you start the game, 1 minute 30, something like that. They're straight on your back straight away. It's suddenly passing it around. I don't think we touched the ball. It was like, you know, and you're thinking this is West Brom, this. But obviously you've got to expect them to come out the traps, and they're at home and they're fighting for their life. Every kick matters, you know, and you know they whip the ball in. And I've been critical of Maguire. I've been critical of Lindelof at times. I've been critical of De Gea. Just not good enough. Like, Lindelof is not a physical presence, and they got manhandled. Now, I would argue that it's kind of both ways, because yes, you could give that as a foul because of the way that he kind of had his arm around him. I think he had his arm over his eyes as well, believe it or not, and like he was like this, but heading for the ball, similar to like UFC ground game when they're trying to stop, you know, prevent the breathing and put them off. So one hand's over here. And yeah, he gets the header in. You just got to be like, if you don't, you know, why are we relying on the rest to blow that as a foul? Deal with it, knock the bloke out the way and put your head on it. Like, where's the physicality? Like, you know, don't wait for the ref to blow the whistle and you think it's a foul. Be on the front foot, you know, stop the cross, stop. Don't even let it get to that situation. And, you know, and Gary Neville spoke about it this week, that Lindelof and Maguire together aren't a good match, because they're not, you know.
It's a soft centre-half partnership, it seems. And you've spoken quite a bit mainly about Maguire as well, who's really weird in the sense that he's got the aggression in the opposition box, but not his own.
Yeah, I know. And when it doesn't help when you've got a passive goalkeeper like David De Gea, just the three together, it's like all three can't be passive and think, oh, you need a Vidic, you need someone that will, you need a player that will deal with the danger, may break his nose in the process, and probably clear out his own defender if it means stopping the ball going in,
Yeah.
So, and then the other contentious issue, again, what people have been up in arms about, and I spoke earlier about, bouncing and things playing out, is United fans kicked off, and, rightly so as soon as I saw it, but literally it was about 7 seconds over the 2 minutes added on of half time. United had a breakaway from their own half, and it was a 4-on-1.
Yeah.
And then the ref blew the whistle. Right. Now, what I would argue is not as bad, but Liverpool in the FA Cup had a similar thing.
Yeah, Mane.
So if we're balancing it out, I can't moan about that.
Yeah, right.
Now, Bruno Fernandes gets us in the game, back into the game in just before half time.
Yep.
And that was a shock for me that he was kind of frustrated with his performance and frustrated with his teammates. And he's just, Shaw's crossed the ball in, he's just swung his left leg at it and it's flew in the top corner. Unbelievable, finish. But I think it's just frustration. But yeah, the setup, just the disappointment of it all. I mean, why are we playing two defensive players against West Brom? Like, is that not a game to throw Donny van der Beek in against West Brom? Like,
Donny, I don't know what Donny's got to do to get a game. Jesus Christ.
I know. He may as well start duetting with Marie again and go on Broadway with Vegas, because it just baffles me. Like sometimes, and we talked earlier on in the season, there was this title challenge and this different thing. We could be right up there, and we should be doing things, but there's just certain occasions, certain tactical. And maybe it's tactical naivety, maybe it's experience, but sometimes, one game Solskjaer does something really well and we come out of a bad patch, and then suddenly the next game, it's like 2 steps back again and go, oh, actually. But, and he's moaning about, oh, well, we can't win the league. It's like, we can win the league, go for the league. Like, we're not going to win it next year when Man City probably buy Harry Kane from Tottenham and, and you guys strengthen and you don't have injuries. It's like, we've got no injuries.
Yeah.
Right? We've got a good enough squad, so.
This was, again, it's a bit late now, but earlier on in the season, it was anyone's.
Yeah,
Nobody could put a run together. City have now done it. They've won themselves a league because while everyone's still faffing around, faltering up and down, they've put a run together and they've effectively won themselves a league.
Exactly.
And it's funny, well, not funny, but you're quite negative and downhearted about United. You're still second in the league.
Yeah, I know.
I know what you mean. We've been in the same situation where you're like, it seems like it's that consistency. It's losing games that you feel you should win, and even though you're still second because everyone's doing it, everyone's slipping up from City at the minute.
Yeah. And like Ricky Bobby in Talladega Nights, if you ain't first, you're last. So it's just, but the frustrating thing is, Sheffield United, Arsenal, Everton, West Brom. Look, why are we throwing these points away?
Well, and on the horizon, you've got another sticky one here that again should be winning. This Newcastle game at the weekend. The weekend. Again, it's.
Who knows?
Newcastle are in trouble, and you look down the league, they're in trouble because they don't seem to be playing like a team that's in trouble. And yet the teams below them, they're just lucky that the teams below them are probably worse, but are also picking up points every so often. Fulham are picking up points. Sheffield United have picked up the odd point. All of a sudden, Newcastle could easily find themselves in that relegation fight, really, in that bottom three. But they're the exact type of team that you seem to be slipping up against recently. And they, if they choose this weekend to realize they really need a win, you could be in for a bit of a game, eh?
I know. And this is the thing, it's like, you can moan about VAR and you can moan about this and moan about that, but at the end of the day, if VAR chalked off 2 goals for Man United against West Brom, I still expect us to win the game because it's West Brom.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? If that thing at half time, who cares? Because it's West Brom. We should be having 10, 12 shots. We should be dominating the game. and we should be winning 3-1, and then moaning why it shouldn't have been 5. It's like,
you dominated possession in that West Brom game. I did see the stats. So you had like 70, I don't know, it was like 79% of possession or something.
But then it feels as though at times it's passing for passing's sake, moving sideways and backwards. It's like 3 passes and you're in, type of thing. Yeah. But in the second half, West Brom had the better chances and probably could have nicked the game towards the end. So it's just disappointing to go a point, really. Like, you know, we're supposed to be, you know, and like I said, Solskjaer needs a trophy. So if you're writing off the league, all right. So what, we finished second? You've got to win it next year because you keep talking that, you know, we're getting better and better. But that's fine. Okay, if that's your game, that's fine. But you have to win the FA Cup or you have to win the Europa League. That's just the way it is.
I was going to ask you because, you know, you've said this a couple of times now that you need a trophy badly. Is the Europa League one that you would set your sights on, or do you think it's just not there yet?
We're capable. The squad's capable to win the Europa League because I think it's a more together team and more well-rounded team than the side that Mourinho won with a couple of years ago. But I worry because we can't get past the semi-final.
Yeah.
And we're not even at that stage yet.
Yeah.
And you know what we've been like? We're banana skins. Sociedad, you can't rule out Sociedad.
Now the 5th, aren't they, in the league at the minute? Not a bad side.
They can't go into this mentality thinking, it's all right, because an old friend of Man United's, Adnan Januzaj, is there. No doubt he'd want us to knock us out.
Yeah, right.
And a little Spanish magician called David Silva plays for them.
Oh, he'd love
to
turn you over.
Not mugs.
Nah.
That's what I mean. The old enemy's coming back to haunt, you know.
We're out of interest. Are you playing that in Spain, or are you also at a neutral venue?
I think it's in Italy. I think.
Yeah, so everyone's. But why are we all
playing
in
Juventus Stadium?
This is absolutely fucking.
I'm sure it's Juventus Stadium. I think.
Italy, aren't they in lockdown as well?
I don't know. I think unless there's another.
I don't
think there is.
Test for whatever reason. I don't even know. I don't understand why they're doing it. Anyway.
I don't. Yeah, who knows? But Anyway, the mentality is just get the game won. That's it. Over 2 legs, and don't moan about VAR. Don't moan about was it a penalty or not. Just smash them by 3 goals, and we move on to the next round. Easy. Football's easy. Move on.
Well, before we do move on to the UFC, because we're going to look back at UFC 250, I'm going to put a light on because it's getting dark in here. So just talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
There we go.
Well, I will tell everyone that I didn't win a penny on any betting this week on the UFC. So always gamble responsibly, because I do gamble responsibly. And every time, one leg lets me down. Anyway, back to you, Matt.
Not your infomercial while I've got a light on.
Yeah.
Right. Well, UFC 258, brilliant card. Great pay-per-view in Las Vegas. We won't go through every single fight, but there was a few I wanted to highlight and have a chat about.
Yeah.
First of all, prelims. Polyana Viana got a first round submission against Mallory Martin. Is it Mallory Martin? Yeah.
Mallory Martin. Yeah.
I thought she. The weird thing was I knew the name and I was like, why do I know her name? I don't think I've seen a fight.
Yeah.
The reason I knew her name is because she was famous kind of for that viral video where she got mugged and beat up the mugger in Brazil.
Yeah.
Which is all well and good. What I didn't really like is throughout the commentary, that's all they kept talking about. I was like,
I know.
You know, they should have done a bit more research about her. And it was the first question Joe Rogan asked when she won.
I know. It's like, can we talk about like the mugged? Yeah. Can we talk about my most recent fight, please? You know what I mean?
Honestly, I know he beat up some fella, which is absolutely great.
Yeah.
However, they just kept bringing it up throughout the fight, and I was like, come on. And I'm sure she just want to relay. I mean, she kind of like, she kind of dealt with it all right, but and we're doing exactly the same thing by mentioning it. But she looked incredible. It was a wicked first round submission. She steamrolled her way through that Mallory Martin, who the UFC were quite high on as well.
Yeah.
So I think she's one to watch, really. I've not got much more to say on it, but really one to watch.
She was the betting underdog.
Yeah, right.
She was the betting underdog, and I nearly backed her because I know the name, like you say.
Yeah.
I thought, I'm pretty sure she's all right, but I looked at Mallory Martin, I was like, oh, maybe they know something more than me. And then as soon as it happened, I was like, oh, actually, no. Jiu-Jitsu wins. You know, Jiu-Jitsu always wins.
Oh, well, we'll come back to that because it doesn't actually always win. We'll talk about that.
Well, yeah, okay. Yeah, I suppose.
Next fight I wanted to mention was Arman Bilal Muhammad fighting Diego Lima. This was what we discussed last week because Lima was a mad, like 4-1 underdog, wasn't he? And we were saying it was a bit mad. No one should be 4. And, I stand by that. No one should be that far an outsider in this fight. However, the bookies did show that they know what they're talking about and that we know.
Yeah.
What do you reckon about Muhammad? Impressed, or was he kind of what you expected?
Impressive, kind of kept the same pace, leg kicks, his combinations, just he controlled the fight from, as soon as the fight started, it was like he was always on the front foot. It was that control, Lima always seemed to be on the back step. So, as you say, I thought Lima would have been a little bit more closer than that. So if anyone listened to me last week and backed Lima, I really do apologize. But I clearly in my notes, I clearly got the wrong 4-1 to back, I would say. We will talk about that. But Bilal Muhammad, impressive. As I say, he's the type of fighter that, we spoke about that they would love at Fight Island. And, he's from that part of the world. You can really build on somebody like him in that part of the world. And when you put in a performance like that, the way he is about calling out people, he's coming. He's up and coming for sure.
He nailed it. I agree with the fight. He was impressive without being spectacular. He just wore Lima down. At the end of the day, Lima was absolutely goosed. He had nothing for Muhammad really without him doing anything spectacular. He just did what he had to do, won the fight.
Class of both,
The best thing about his entire performance was, as you say, his call out at the end. He absolutely nailed it. He called out what's his face? Li Jingliang. Have I said that
wrong?
Yeah,
Li Jin. Li Jin. Yes, Li Jingliang. Yeah.
We'll be here all day.
Whoever beat Ortega. No, it was Ortega. It was
no, he beat
Ponzinibbio.
He beat Ponzinibbio, that fella.
Yeah.
Despite his name, the reason it was a smart call out was because he knows they're building a big Singapore card soon. If he wants to bounce back, fight again, call out that guy. He's guaranteed to be on that card, and he's guaranteed to be fairly high up that card. They're trying to build him. I think it'll be a really interesting fight for him. Fairly evenly matched in terms of two tough guys who are going to push the pace. That will be a great matchup. And I just thought we talk about it a lot, don't we? One of our big gripes is how people mess up the call outs and don't take the moment, say the wrong thing. He said exactly the right thing. He backed up a sturdy, solid performance with a sturdy, solid call out. Good on you, sir.
Are you saying don't call out Miley Cyrus? Is that what you're saying?
No, Miley Cyrus is exactly who you should call out. Did you see?
Absolutely. Hey, hands off.
Did you see her response?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic! It was the most awkward thing that I've ever seen. I had to mute it when he started doing it. But what was his name? What's the fella's name who did that?
Julian Marquez.
Julian Marquez, yeah.
Yeah. But that wasn't even the most cringiest thing. The cringiest thing was when he was talking 3 minutes prior to that about, hey, go on Twitter, tell me who's the loudest fans and what stadium.
I had to mute it. I couldn't.
What are you talking about, mate? What are you talking about? Like, and then it's like, and then you clearly thought, oh, they'll get back on track here and go, okay, so anyone that you want to call out? I was like, oh, here we go. Come on, here's your chance, mate, to redeem yourself. We can forget about the past three minutes of dross. And he goes, Miley Cyrus, will you be my Valentine? I thought, oh, mate, what are you doing? One, she's mine, and two, mate, what are you doing? Like, she's not,
I blocked that out of my memory. I completely forgot about that first 3 minutes when he was talking about Twitter and the Ohio fans or something.
You tell Rogan, what are you talking about?
I had to mute it. I couldn't listen. I couldn't listen. I think I turned it back on just in time for him to call out Miley Cyrus. Jesus Christ. Anyway.
Exactly. So, and yes, I will be shaving an M and a C on my chest, by the way. That will be happening, I reckon.
Excellent. I'll hold you to that. Next one I wanted to mention was, it links on to what you just incorrectly said about jiu-jitsu wins everything.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. No.
So what we're referencing here is Rodolfo Vieira versus Anthony Hernandez. Big lesson from this fight for me is you can be as good as you want at any discipline that you want. If you haven't got good conditioning, you're absolutely toast in the UFC.
Yeah.
Absolutely toast. Vieira obviously came in. We know his credentials. We spoke about them last week.
Yeah.
He's a multi-time world champion, Abu Dhabi champion, jiu-jitsu player. He's an absolute demon on the ground. Super, super dangerous. Early in the fight, he took his shot, and he took Hernandez down, had him in a really dangerous position. And everyone's first thought was, oh, it's over. It's over. The problem is when you run into someone who is capable on the ground and just tough as nails, managed to survive an attack that 9 out of 10 people would have submitted to there. The problem is then this Rodolfo Vieira is again not built. He's not conditioned to go again. He completely blew his tank. And coming out for the second round, he had nothing left. Even the end of the first round, coming out for the second round,
he had nothing walking around.
And this Hernandez was just teeing off on him, head kicks, jabs, hooks, and was just laying him out. And you can tell he's tough, but it just wore him down. And in the end, Hernandez ended up getting the submission on Vieira because he wasn't capable of defending himself. And that's it. Just shows. I think maybe he's a purple belt, which is is great. But there's a legion of difference between a purple belt and Rodolfo Vieira. And it just shows the difference that conditioning can make. If you've got nothing left in the tank, you are toast against anyone. And him to get submitted must have been a massive hit to his ego. And it was a massive hit to the odds makers who had put that as a 30-1 odds of him getting submitted, which is absolutely mad. Absolutely mad.
And like I said earlier, he was 4-1 to win the fight as well. So again, another big outsider. But you're right with the whole, you've got to be good in this game. You've got to be good in every area, or at least, at least competent in most areas and different things. I mean, it was only a couple of weeks ago we were speaking about, Conor McGregor as a boxer and go, well, if that's all you've got, someone can kick your legs and yourself. So it's, it's easy for us to say this, but you've got to be well-rounded in every single area. And you can't, not to say you took him for granted, but betting odds don't mean a thing in this game.
No,
don't mean a thing.
No, anything can happen once that cage door closes. Someone's come in. He's a big guy as well for that weight class. I've heard a few people say this week he's carrying a lot of
much muscle. Yeah,
it's not great because especially if you're going for those submissions, you burn your arms out and you just absolutely toast. You're so vulnerable then. Mm-hmm. So if your gas tank goes, it must be the most terrifying thing when you're in that cage. If your gas tank goes, you're almost incapable of defending yourself, which is what happened. Normally you think you'd sweep any of those submissions from Hernandez's side. He was incapable of defending it, and he got submitted. Madness. But super interesting. It's why we love it. Moving on to the main card, we'll skip straight ahead to Kelvin Gastelum and Ian Heinisch.
Yeah.
Now we've spoken. There's a few fights there that didn't go as we kind of thought they would. This one, I would say, went exactly as we thought it would. Yeah. 100%.
You're absolutely right. And we was how long we was talking about last week's on last week's show. Get the result, mate. If you lose, you're Gastelum, you're in trouble. You're really, really in trouble. Obviously tuned in and listened to us, and he goes, "Yeah, you know what, lads, I'll get out the win here." And like we were saying earlier, with the whole smart call out and take your time, this is your moment, etc. He's completely set himself up to be right back in that picture because he's like, "Oh, I'm not kind of bothered kind of who I fight next. However, Whittaker Borrachina, if anybody falls out, I'm your man." Suddenly, a bit of stroke of luck, some sort of injury or something happens with COVID or wherever it is. Suddenly, Gastelum is back up to 2-3.
Yeah.
Gets through that. You're talking Adesanya one more time straight away.
Yeah, he's got the name, hasn't he? Which you can play. I think he's had a few losses, but the people he's lost to are credible names. He's not lost to any bums. You're right. He did exactly what he needed to do in that fight. He got the win, played it safe, which is exactly what I would have done. What I thought he was going to do. And you're right. It sets him up now because the middleweight division. His problem is that a lot of the contenders in the middleweight division are matched up. So it's very smart to say like, I'm ready. I want to go again. One of these drops out, slot me straight in, especially the Whittaker and Borrachina because he's got history there, especially with Whittaker. and both of those have been known to drop out in the past. So, you know, there's a narrative there you can easily slot in. Aside from people who were matched up, there's also interesting fights there. Cannonier's not going to fight. He's ranked number 3. Good fight. And Derek Brunson is also not matched up. He's on a good win streak. If you could get a win over Brunson, again, you're right back up there. So there's a lot of options for Gastelum. I think one thing it's always fascinated me about him, he's got a weird body type, hey? Like I just think what would he be capable of if he cut some weight or if he changed his diet or something, because he's clearly not. He's got a bit of a dad bod, hasn't he? Even when he steps in there, even on the scales, you know, he's a funny shape, and I just think
he's like bulky. He's like Harry Maguire. He's just like a square. You know what I mean?
He's weird. He's got a really skinny waist, and he's like a big triangle, but he's not your muscle bound. He's a bit flabby. It sounds daft. He's a bit flabby, but he's an athlete, obviously. But for me, I'm just like, what's he capable? What could he be capable of?
Yeah.
You know, if he leaned up, or you know, how strong could he be?
Look at Jared Cannonier, and you look at him these days, and you go, whoa!
And it shows it can be done. You just got to have the right mindset to do it. I don't know. Maybe he just likes his food too much or something. But there's levels of Gastelum. Yeah, he's got really fast hands. He's got an iron chin, absolute iron chin. So you know, there's huge potential for him there. So I'm interested to see where he goes next.
Yeah, and just quickly to finish on Gastelum, I rewatched the Gastelum Adesanya fight on Friday, and the moment when Gastelum rocks Izzy and Izzy is backing up to the fence and Gastelum shoots for a takedown is criminal, because Kelvin Gastelum could have finished Israel Adesanya, and the whole landscape could have changed. There's a moment where Adesanya's backing up and everyone's like, oh, and Gastelum's coming towards him, and he goes, and Izzy's up against the fence, he's expecting a few bombs, and Gastelum shoots for a takedown, and then Adesanya keeps him at bay, recovers, you know, and I think it's maybe the fourth, maybe. It's like, I mean, he came the closest to beating him anyway, to be fair, to take it to a decision, but that was the moment that could have changed the whole landscape of that division, the whole landscape.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I need to rewatch that again. But even in that fight again, like I said, he's iron chin, absolute iron chin. He's taken a lot of damage over the years, and he just come through it. So interesting. We'll keep an eye on Gastelum. Co-main event: Macy Barber and Grasso, Alexa Grasso. What did you make of? So obviously Barber had been out. She's coming off a loss to Modafferi, ruptured a knee, been out for a year or so. Came back. What did you make of her performance?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But I said last week, and I was very confident that Grasso would get the win. I just think she's a better fighter. She's fought better people. Yes, basically Barber's so young. In time, she can get right up there. But it was just a very mature experience. No nonsense from Grasso. That jab always straight down the pipe every single time. And I think it was DC that picked up on it on commentary. This whole kind of Macy Barber, like kind of trying to pick a shot and move, and it looks as though she's very busy when she's miles away. Like she's trying to, she's putting combos together, but it's like, and then Grasso just goes pop.
Yeah.
You know, and it resets. It's like, get close. You need to get closer to win this fight. You've actually got to touch her, and you've got to get close.
Yeah.
So, so it could be ring rust. It could be ring rust because of the injury. But for me, I just think Grasso, it was just more experienced, probably underrated with her hands. Very underrated. It's probably going into the fight. Yep. Experienced fighter, and you know, Macy Barber will come again, of course, and get up there, but she's got to have a couple of scalps or a good performance to get to even Grasso level at the moment. So
yeah, I agree. I massively overestimated Macy Barber. I bought into that hype a little bit too much, and definitely underestimated Grasso. She's got some of the best boxing, the best hands in the women's MMA. Yeah. I think she's going to fly out that division now. I think this year will be a big year for her. We'll see her. I wouldn't be surprised if she fights for a title before the end of this year. Barber, it's another loss, but again, she's 22. I think she's the thing about her that I really like is she's got that heart, she's got that toughness, which can take you a long way. We literally said it about Molly McCann the other week, didn't we? Same thing. she's got this incredible toughness, and she's going to keep coming at you, and she's entertaining. She's not in boring fights, but young, and you just for Macy Barber, there's just skill levels that she needs to up. She'll get there.
Yeah.
But she's
got time. She's got time to get there, but yeah.
I think they pushed her because there was a narrative of being the youngest UFC champ, beating John Jones's record, but that's just not going to happen. She's not at the same level, I say, as John Jones was. But future's massively bright because she's extremely talented.
Yeah.
Just got to keep working, just got to keep plugging away, and I think she needs to be taken back down the peg now rather than being pushed on too quick.
Exactly.
Work away through that division.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see Barber's development, but also, do you remember I can't remember both names. Was that a McCann or the two young girls who fought on Fight Island? Do you remember when it was like the youngest fight ever?
One of them was a Welsh.
I think her name was
right?
and I think that was like a McCann or something like that. Because I remember it was similar to like Molly McCann. But anyway, it'd be interesting to see because them are kind of a similar age.
Yep.
Which one out of them three kind of emerges as kind of the star and the young kind of female prospects? I want to kind of not say put them three together, but I want to see. I'm going to be interested to see.
You're making a tournament there, Commissioner.
Yeah, I know the under 23 tournament.
What's going on? Love it. Then I guess we should move on to the main event. Where to begin with it? Great fight. It's the first time I've been really impressed with Usman, which is mad to say considering the run he's been on and
the scalps he's made,
people he's beaten, and I still haven't been wowed by him up to this point. But for this one, I was super impressed with him. First round. There's a lot going into it in terms of it's a title defense against a former teammate, and there's lots of emotion there, and separating of the camps and all. We spoke about last week, but I thought straight away we saw Burns bring the fight to Usman, and he caught him early. He caught him with a really great overhand right, which definitely buzzed Usman. He went down, but he composed himself quickly, had his hands out.
Yeah.
He wasn't out of it. He just got buzzed. And what I love then from Usman was that he recovered from that. And I think what we saw possibly for the first time in a long time is that he was forced to fight a fight rather than just defend and get through it and do enough. He was then forced to, be on the front foot a bit more, utilize that wicked jab. He just showed that coldness, that toughness, and an incredible skill level as well. Where he's very, very, very well-rounded and super dangerous. Now I'm working with Trevor Whitman, as we mentioned last week. Will just elevate his game. Super impressed. What do you think?
Yeah, you mentioned Whitman and Usman. I think that is an unstoppable partnership.
Yeah,
I really do. Certainly in that division. Going back to the fight, I said last week, Chin will prevail. His most kind of strongest asset. I winced when obviously Burns cracked him. I thought, oh my God, this is. But I'm going to, similar to Gastelum and Adesanya, I'm going to be critical with Gilbert Burns here. Why did you get on your back after that big hit that he did? Yeah, he let him recover, and he's sat on his back trying to kick him or whatever. Whereas Usman's composed himself, and he'll just pick shots. He'll kick your legs all the same while as he's recovering. Similar to Gastelum Adesanya, you had the moment, you had it.
Yeah.
And that was the time to just go full throttle. If I get knocked out, if I get whatever, if I gas, whatever. But this is my moment, and he did it in the second. He did it in the second round as well.
What's he thinking? Is he hoping he can pull him into his guard? Is that what he's hoping?
Yeah, exactly. But I'm like,
Usman's going to go anywhere.
I felt like saying, you do remember that you guys are teammates, like used to be teammates, and he knows
really good.
how dangerous you are on the floor, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a bit of naivety.
So I will put
Sorry.
Yeah, just inexperience on the big stage, and kind of the glimmer of the one chance, the glimmer that you've got to capitalize.
Yeah.
In the big moments against someone like Usman and Trevor Whitman in your corner, the slightest chance, you've got to go full throttle.
Yeah.
He's got to go full throttle, and maybe that's why he was so emotional, and maybe in the back of his mind he goes, that was the chance.
Yeah,
you know, that was. I
agree.
buzzed him early, and I didn't push him. I didn't push him back even more, and really get him up against the fence and really give the ref something to think about. And you know, it went the other way, and Usman caught him and saw his moment, capitalized, and the ref had to jump in and stop the fight.
Yeah. I think I've been super. I'll be honest. I really wanted Burns to win.
Right.
I wanted the title taken off Usman because it kind of bore the pants off me a little bit in a few fights. I just thought he could have done more and put his foot down a bit more. And I take that back. You know, I'm really glad that he won because he showed me everything in this fight that I thought that he was missing.
Yeah.
From being like a champ, a star.
Yeah.
He had a dominant performance. He got a finish, which he rarely does. Got an incredible finish. And then rocked the mic as well. He also rocked the mic. He did it. It was a smart call out to call out Masvidal because it's money, it's entertainment. People are going to want to watch it. He's cleaned out that division. There's nobody else there now. There's no contender that he hasn't already beaten that's ready to step up yet. So where do you go? You know, you go back to where it's going to make you the biggest money and be the best story. And he's kind of shook up that division by doing so. There's other interesting fights, which you might touch on in a sec, that I think could be down the line for him. But in the moment, I think that was the smartest thing you could do. What do you reckon? Were you happy with that call out?
Yeah, 100%. And I was like, the dollars it made on Fight Island, 1.6 million pay-per-views or wherever it was. He's beaten once, yes, on short notice and all that.
That gives a narrative, though, doesn't it? That it allows the glimmer of like maybe,
Yeah, and he's kind of. I like that call out because he's kind of answering his critics because he obviously feels disrespected by fans thinking, oh, you think, I only got the win because of 6 days notice. No, you can have as long as you want now. And he's thinking in his mind, the best Masvidal will never beat the best Usman type of thing.
I agree. I don't after that performance, I don't think Masvidal gets near him, to be honest.
No.
I'll watch it.
One thing I will say, just to cap off, was that the best stare down before they touched the glove? How up was you for that fight where you was like, oh my God, this is
literally made that exact noise.
This is going down. Yeah. It's like this is going down.
Yeah. I think they both did quite well, didn't they? Usman especially, to be able to have that focus and take the emotion out of it, that he was just there to fight some dude, and it was pretty incredible. It was a special fight, and I was and then at the end, looking on, just see Burns just obviously in tears and defeated, and you see just Usman. It's like a lion, just he's finished with his prey, and he's watching over. Just you see the dead zebra carcass, and he's just admiring his work, going, yeah,
I took it down, a big wildebeest or something. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, just to finish on that, it shook up the division a little bit because we were all expecting the Colby Masvidal matchup, which I was keen for as well. There's history there, and there's a lot of beef there. Now that Usman has called out Masvidal, he's probably taken that fight from Colby because he's got momentum there. The other thing that's happened on the sideline is that Chimaev has dropped out of his fight against Leon Edwards for the third time. I think the UFC are a bit more sympathetic to Edwards now because he took those fights. Want to get him another matchup now, and the one that makes sense is Colby Covington. Do you like that fight for Edwards?
Yeah, I rate Colby a lot. I think he's very, very good. And again, it's equally as dangerous.
Yeah.
Because Colby is good, but what I would say is that this is the best thing to ever happen to Leon Edwards because he took a fight that nobody wanted, and now he doesn't have to fight the bloke and has jumped the queue, and now is back up into the picture without taking any damage from being so inactive that he's gone. This is the best scenario of all time, win or loss.
He just needs to fight.
I am torn. I am torn with these call outs because, it was my prediction, however many months ago, that it should be Colby Masvidal, Ultimate Fighter coaches on ESPN, because that is box office. Yeah. Box office.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm a little bit torn. But
because there's talk now that they might do Usman, Masvidal, tough coaches, which is fine. I don't think Usman is the most entertaining dude there. I don't think he's going to be. But I think, you know, in the same way that Conor and Khabib could have been a train wreck as well, I think Masvidal, Colby could have been a train wreck. Like those two end up scrapping it, you know. There's a fine line. You've got to pick the coaches well enough. They've got to like each other. They've got to be enough of a rival that there's a bit of needle, but they're not gonna like. Masvidal doesn't mess around, does he? Like he's you know, it's serious for him. I think that would have been absolutely dangerous. There's a disaster waiting to happen in the same way that Conor and Khabib would have been.
Masvidal Usman fits the bill on the Ultimate Fighter because you always have to have that antagonist. It's always the one that's kind of not say Usman's not outspoken, but the more quieter and the more kind of less in your face from a standoff point in a way. Whereas Masvidal, he'll be the talker, he'll be goading him to get Usman to react. So for me, that them two as coaches, I won't mourn, to be honest.
Definitely works. I'm conscious of time, but I think we'll have to just quickly have a look at this weekend's card.
Yeah, pick a couple of fights and
for me, on the prelim. Actually, no, now it's on the main card. So it seems like everything's being rearranged, but I'll just tell you the fight. I don't know where it is on the bill. I'm looking forward to watching Phil Hawes again. He's had 2 fights in the UFC. Came through the Contender Series. Incredible wrestler. He ran through Rob Whittaker's teammate, that Malcolm, whatever his name was. Ran through him on Fight Island in, I don't know, it was like 30 seconds or something. He's fighting a Russian guy, Nasruddin Imavov. Yeah. You know, you put the wrestlers together. Russians are always good on the ground. Imavov's got a bit of a mix of knockouts. I think about 4 submissions on his record as well. So I think it's a great matchup. The UFC is super high on Phil Hawes, so really keen to see this one. Any that stick out to you?
And I think the Phil Hawes fight I think that starts the main card, but we could be wrong here. So, I mean, is it time to talk about our boy?
I think, right? I think we just smashed straight on with our boy. Go on, take one.
Exactly. Wigan Casino himself, Tom Aspinall. You know, what are your thoughts? I mean, I know we're very high on this guy, but how looking forward to this fight are you?
It's a massive fight for Tom. I'm calling him Tom like I know him. Massive fight with Tom. He's been matched up, and I believe now, after you've told me about the rearranging, he's actually headlining the prelims, which is a great spot to be on. He's fighting a legend. He's fighting a former champ. He's fighting a guy that's got more fights on his record than Tom's taken shits, I reckon. He's an unbelievable veteran. For Tom, it feels like, for me, it's come at the right time for him. It's time after his performances in the UFC, 2-0. He's not been out the first round. He's been utterly dominant. It's time to test him, I think, and see where he sits. And if you can come through Andre Arlowski, then you are the real deal, and you are, you're stirring at top 15, top 10 opponents already. And I think Tom is more than capable of it. It'll just be good to see if he can get maybe a round or 2 under his belt, see the other tools in his arsenal. We know he's a ridiculously good boxer, really fast hands, heavy hitter, BJJ black belt. Like, he seems to have it all. I'd just like to see more of those tools. What do you reckon?
I think this doesn't go out the first.
Right, okay.
I think Tom knocks him clean in 2 minutes, because I've always been suspect for a number of years now about Arlovski's chin. And I know he had Tanner Boser and scraped through a couple of these fights, but a lot of that's Tanner Boser not being on the front foot and different things. And I think Tom Aspinall, this is a great scalp to have on the resume, but I think it's a smart fight because it's a name that, yes, it's a big name, but it's not the Arlovski of 15 years ago. This is a guy with, I believe, a custard cream chin, and I think Aspinall, he hits, and I think give him 2 minutes and he'll be out of there. I
have to agree. I think, you're right that Arlovski, even though he has got a bit of a dodgy chin, has managed to pull out some decision wins in the last couple of fights. And the reason that is, or he survived anyway, whether he's won or not, the reason that is because the people he's been fighting haven't been front foot enough. If I'm Tom Aspinall, if I'm Tom Aspinall's coach, I am saying get on the front foot, go out there and blast him. Go out there and blast him, because he won't like it. Get right in his face. No. And I think turn it into a scrap and early doors. I think I agree. I think you'll knock him out pretty quickly. And then if you knock Arlovski out quickly, spectacularly, all aboard the hype train. all aboard that hype train because you will skyrocket yourself in that heavyweight division.
Yeah. Interestingly, I think the fight that's opening the prelims is Mr. Sergei Spivak, who he called out.
Yeah.
If you remember, but obviously you'd say he's got a better fight in Arlowski. Yeah. So I just thought it was quite interesting that they're obviously on a similar time.
It shows what they think of Tom Hay. It shows what the matchmakers think of him and see what the potential is. It's a big test for him. It's a big test. I think if he plays it smart, I think if he goes out there and puts the pressure on straight away, then he gets the job done. And the world's his oyster then. And then if you look ahead to the main event, you obviously got the other heavyweights. Tom will be eyeing up, I think, down the line. So what do you reckon about the fight? Blades and Lewis. Blades just coming off a great win streak. He's beaten everyone in that division aside from Ngannou and the champ. And Lewis, we just know how dangerous he is. He's a perennial contender. Do you reckon this fight is almost the fight that will get them the next shot after John Jones?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I think so. But then, because I'm trying to think of someone like,
Rosenstrike.
Volkov put on a pretty impressive performance against Overeem, I think.
Yep.
There could be the winner. It could be let's say Rosenstruck beats Cyril Gane. It could be a Rosenstruck of Volkov. I don't think they fought. And then it's very much the winners of these. But I know Blades' last fight was Volkov that he won. Blades beat Volkov.
I think there's more to gain here for Curtis Blades. I think if Curtis Blades can put on a decisive performance, whether he gets a knockout or just a really dominant win, I think he will jump that queue and he'll be next in line after John Jones for a title shot. Derek Lewis, less so. He's been there. He's the almost guy. I don't think anyone's clamoring to see him in a title shot. We know what he brings. He's got mad power in his hands, and he's a better athlete than he looks. Yeah. But I think Curtis Blades will wear on him in this fight, and will just drain him. Yeah. That's how I think.
What I will say is probably Lewis of the last few fights and last couple of years would really struggle with Blades in this fight.
Yeah.
However, the amount of time recently he's been putting on his wrestling, and his wrestling has got so much better. And Daniel Cormier even admitted, and he said, "Thank God." When Cormier fought him, I think it was like UFC 200. I think.
Yeah.
Maybe, or maybe one after. Oh no, sorry, it was Cormier.
Anderson Silva. So
anyway,
right after that,
I think it was his first defense was Derek Lewis, and he said obviously he had no wrestling, and kind of Cormier, he said Derek's still a crazy dude, a scary dude, but when Cormier watches his fights now, he goes, "Thank God I am not fighting this Derek Lewis," because he said, and if DC's noticing it, he says his wrestling is getting far better. So it'd be very interesting. Normally we'd be talking about this going wrestler versus, a guy that just throws the bombs. What's going to happen? Whereas if Lewis can hold him off, or, Blades tries to take him down, or Lewis catches him with something on, I think it's a more closer or interesting fight than kind of what you see the two names in a way.
Yeah, you've touched on something there, which is just in the way that you moved. I think what would really be interesting is, that the power from Derek Lewis, maybe it is catching Blades on the way in. He's going to come in for the takedown. Maybe it's throwing these uppercuts and knees. He likes to throw these flying knees in, doesn't he? Which is mad for the size of him. You think you shouldn't be capable of doing that.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that's what his game plan will be. We know what Blades is going to do. It's how do I stop that? How do I catch him on the way in with my power? Yeah. Maybe that's how it plays out. I'm interested. I think Blades will have enough, just an all-round game. I think he'll just be a bit more dominant. I probably see a decision win for Blades in this one.
Yeah, I agree. But
we know that Derek Lewis can knock your lights out at any. All he needs is one chance. If he lands one, you're in big trouble.
Just ask Volkov.
Yeah. Last second. He's so capable of it, and you can never count him out. If you're doing bets, he's worth. I'm sure he'll be the underdog. He's worth a couple of dollars because it absolutely can catch Blades for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And on that note, we'll call it, I think, for this week. It's been a bit weird doing it over Zoom again. I've just got darker as the night's gone on. I look forward to being back in the studio with you next week. For everyone that's tuning in, thank you very much for watching. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future episodes. Tell your mates. Hit the like button, all that palaver. And we'll see you next week. Hopefully for a win for Tom Aspinall. Come on, Tom.